They say wars are fought for power, but power doesn't always come from tanks or armies. Sometimes it comes from what's beneath your feet. Right now, under Ukraine's soil lies something far more valuable than oil: lithium, titanium, iron, rare earths. These aren't just minerals, they're the building blocks of modern life. They power electric cars, satellites, smartphones, and renewable grids. And whoever controls them controls the next century. This is World in Me project with Dr. Yeva Aleksanyan. If you find value in our videos, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. It helps this content reach more people who love to understand how the world really works. The war in Ukraine isn't just about borders or history. It's also about roads and resources. And beneath those roads lies something that every superpower wants: the minerals of the future. You may remember the headlines: that tense exchange in Washington between Ukraine's President Zelensky, US President Donald Trump, and Vice President J.D. Vance, followed by talks of US-Ukraine mineral deals. Those stories pointed to something very real: Ukraine's extraordinary underground wealth. And understanding that wealth is key to understanding this war itself. Think of a country like a smartphone. Its roads and railways are the cables. They move goods and energy. Its minerals are the battery and microchips. Without them, nothing works. Ukraine has both the roads and the minerals. That's why so many powerful countries care what happens in Ukraine. So, what does Ukraine actually have that makes it so valuable? Let's start with lithium. Ukraine holds some of the largest untapped lithium reserves in Europe, mainly in Donetsk and Kirovohrad. Why does that matter? Because lithium is the heart of the modern economy. It's the key ingredient in rechargeable batteries for electric cars, laptops, smartphones, and energy storage for solar and wind power. Without lithium, there are no batteries. Without batteries, there's no green transition, no electric cars, no renewable grids, no clean future. In today's world, whoever controls lithium controls a piece of the global economy. Let's take one example: Tesla and Elon Musk. At the height of US-China tensions, while Washington was warning American companies to pull back from Beijing, he built and scaled Tesla's Gigafactory in Shanghai, which today produces more Teslas than any other plant on Earth. Why? Because China doesn't just mine lithium, it refines it. Beijing controls nearly 2/3 of the world's lithium processing capacity, turning raw rock from Australia, Chile, and Argentina into the battery-grade material that powers the world's electric vehicles. Being close to that supply chain wasn't just strategy, it was survival. Without lithium, there are no batteries. Without batteries, there are no Teslas. And without electric vehicles, there's no green revolution. And Tesla isn't alone. Volkswagen, Europe's largest automaker, partnered with CATL, China's biggest battery producer, to secure lithium-ion supplies for its electric vehicles. CATL now dominates over 30% of the global battery market. Its power rooted in control of lithium refining and production. When Europe's biggest automakers depend on China's lithium giant, that's not just business, that's geopolitics. And it's not only about cars. Apple runs on lithium too. Every iPhone, every MacBook, every AirPod, every single one depends on it. Apple's supplier Foxconn has expanded battery and electric vehicle component production in China, India, and Vietnam, all near the lithium hubs. Every device you charge connects you to the same lithium highways that power Tesla and the global economy. Lithium isn't just a mineral, it's the foundation of the modern world, the metal that decides who leads the 21st century and who follows. If Europe doesn't have its own lithium, but Ukraine does, then Ukraine becomes essential for Europe's future. Without Ukrainian lithium, Europe remains dependent on China. For Russia, the logic is simple. Moscow doesn't want Europe's green transition to succeed because that would end Europe's dependence on Russian oil and gas. But if the green transition happens anyway, and Russia controls Ukraine's lithium mines, then Moscow holds the alternative to gas. Whoever controls Ukraine's lithium controls Europe's energy future. Meanwhile, in 2023-2024, the United States confirmed and prioritized major lithium projects in Nevada and North Carolina. That made Washington slightly less desperate for Ukraine's lithium specifically, but Ukraine's roads, location, and other minerals still make it a key link in Western supply chains. Have in mind that lithium is not the only treasure buried in Ukrainian soil. Ukraine also holds rare earth elements, the very metals that make the modern world run. Rare earth minerals live inside wind turbines, fighter jets, smartphones, and satellites. I live in Colorado, home of Lockheed Martin, the company that builds F-35 fighter jets and advanced satellites. To produce anything like that, you need processed rare earth minerals, and Ukraine has those rare earth minerals in Dnipro and Donbas, the very regions Russia is fighting to control. And here is the catch. China already dominates 80 to 90% of global rare earth processing. Even if other countries mine those elements, they often send the ore to China for refining, then buy back the finished magnets, chips, and components. That's a massive vulnerability. It means nearly every missile, every electric vehicle, and every smartphone depends on Chinese factories. Now ask yourself, does China want to lose that leverage? Would it want Europe and the United States to suddenly have unrestricted access to those same minerals? I doubt. In the best case scenario for Beijing, it retains full or partial access to those minerals via global supply chains. In the next best scenario, Russia controls them and Moscow's aligned with Beijing in many respects. For the United States and Europe, breaking free from that dependence is now a strategic priority. Ukraine's deposits could provide a badly needed alternative. For Ukraine, these resources mean big powers have reasons to protect it. For Russia, seizing them means keeping leverage, even after fossil fuels fade in importance. If Europe stops buying Russian oil and gas, Russia's economy collapses, unless it finds another way to control the West. Holding Ukraine's critical mineral regions gives Moscow that chance. And that's still not all. Ukraine is also one of the world's top producers of titanium, with major deposits in Dnipropetrovsk and Zaporozhye. Titanium is indispensable for aerospace, defense, and medicine. Aircraft, spacecraft, and surgical tools all rely on it. Boeing, Airbus, and Lockheed Martin, and many others depend on steady titanium supplies, and so does Russia's own defense industry. Then there's graphite, another crucial battery mineral, concentrated mainly in central Ukraine, around Kirovohrad. Graphite forms the anode in lithium-ion batteries, the negative side that stores energy. Right now, China dominates global graphite production, but Ukraine's reserves could give the West a long-term, non-Chinese alternative. Put simply, Lithium is the battery's fuel. Graphite is the battery's container. Rare earths are the motors and magnets. And titanium is the structure, the bones and armor. Together, they form the core of both modern industry and military power. Whoever controls them controls the backbone of the 21st century economy. Controlling these metals means controlling the future, the next aircraft, drone, satellite, and missile. This is the key to understanding why Russia wants more territory, more leverage, and more minerals before any deal. Russia's logic: why trade away tomorrow's battery mine if you can wait and hold it? If a region holds lithium, rare earths, titanium, or graphite, giving it up is like handing over your only battery factory or engine plant. Even if Russia's oil revenues fall, controlling Ukraine's mineral-rich regions could still keep Moscow powerful, not through pipelines, but through supply chains and leverage over the West. That's the hidden reason Russia is digging in so hard across eastern and southern Ukraine. It's not just about the land, it's about resources, roads, and the leverage they create over Europe's green transition and Western defense manufacturing. In negotiations, territory that couples a transport corridor with a mineral deposit isn't just square kilometers, it's future power. So, what's really at stake? Let's make it crystal clear. If Ukraine keeps control of its mines and routes, it can rebuild, trade freely, and integrate into European supply chains. Those resources would fund reconstruction, attract investment, and secure Ukraine's place in Europe's economic future. If Russia holds those regions, it gains the power to pressure Europe using minerals the same way it once used gas. Control of lithium, titanium, and rare earths become Moscow's new energy weapon, a source of money, influence, and geopolitical leverage over the West. If Europe loses access, it stays dependent on China's refineries and Russia's mines. That means every wind turbine, every electric car, and every advanced weapon system could still rely on raw materials coming from countries that don't share Europe's values or interests. If the United States helps build alternative routes and refineries, the entire Western alliance becomes safer and stronger. It creates a diversified supply chain, one that doesn't run through Beijing or Moscow, and gives Washington and Brussels the ability to shape the green economy instead of chasing it. Now, let's look at the global players. China maintains dominance in rare earths refining and battery production. Its goal is not competition, but control. Every ton of lithium, cobalt, rare earths refined outside its borders threatens Beijing's leverage, and it knows it. Russia wants not only the land corridor to Crimea, but also the mineral corridor across eastern and southern Ukraine. It won't negotiate from weakness, it wants resources in hand before any peace talk. These minerals are Moscow's tickets to long-term relevance after oil. What about Europe and United States? Both want secure access to those minerals and independent trade routes, but their risk is real. If Moscow and Beijing tighten their grip, Western economies could face shortages, higher costs, and weakened technological leadership for decades. And here is what it means for the United States specifically. If Ukraine loses those territories and minerals, the US faces a cascading strategic problem. Washington's entire plan to de-risk from China collapses because rare earth and battery supply chains fall right back into Chinese and Russian hands. American defense and tech industries, from Lockheed Martin to Apple, would remain indirectly dependent on components refined in China. Global energy transition goals would slow as the West struggles to source clean tech materials without access to Ukraine's deposits. And geopolitically, a Russia China bloc controlling Eurasia's key resources would reduce US influence in Europe, the Middle East, and beyond. In short, if Ukraine holds the ground, United States and its allies help shape the 21st century economy. If Ukraine loses it, China and Russia shape it instead, and the West spends the next decade trying to catch up. Because this war isn't just about borders or a map. It's about who controls the lifelines of the modern world, the materials, markets, and technologies that will define the century ahead. Think of it this way. Energy, food, and minerals are the three arteries of the global economy. Energy keeps the world moving. Food keeps people alive. Minerals keep technology running. And Ukraine sits right at the crossroads of all three. Its roads and railways connect Europe to Asia. Its ports on the Black Sea and the Danube carry grain that feeds the Middle East and Africa. And beneath its soil lie the minerals that power the technologies of tomorrow, from electric cars to satellites, from batteries to defense systems. Whoever controls those arteries doesn't just control Ukraine's destiny, they influence the world. This is Word and Me Project with Yeva Aleksanyan. If this helped you see the world a little clearer, hit like button, share, and subscribe to this channel. And tell me in the comments, who do you think will control the resources and shape the future? Ukraine and its allies, or Russia-China axis? Let's discuss.